My son and I have been hitting the gym pretty regularly now, and Wednesdays are our leg day, which of course everybody hates leg day, even though it's a great workout because you can't walk the next day. Alrighty, get a couple people in here. Feel free to turn your cameras on before I tell everyone to turn your cameras on. Don't be shy. I'm just letting a few more people in the room here, and then we'll kick this party off. Right. I always say it's time to start, and then someone pops in. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's time to start. I'm going to drop the resources in the chat right away, just so I don't forget. You'll need those for the homework, if you will, at the end of everything. So hold on to that. And then let's go ahead and try to kick this party off right on time. And if someone pops in last minute, I'll let them in for a couple minutes, but we should be okay. Ah, there it is. I knew it every single time. I try to start. Boom. Okay, one more. Now for real this time, let's kick this party off. All right, welcome everybody. Hope you are having a fantastic Wednesday. Today we are going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and it's boring, it's not sexy, it's not stylish, but it matters to your business. We're going to talk a little bit about how do we know what to do, plan what to do so that we can go do what we need to do. So that's what we're going to talk about today, a little bit of business planning as it pertains to not just setting goals, because anybody can set some goals, but knowing what to do and knowing what to do that fits your personality type so that you're not fighting against yourself to get out there and actually do it. So that's the goal. Let's dive right on in. So the question as we get started is what's actually on your calendar this week? So this is Wednesday. So if you've ever been in one of my business planning sessions, I always tell people your calendar should be built out Sunday evening for the entire week in advance so that you know what I'm doing throughout the week. You can run your business like a business and you don't have to think about what should I be doing today. So if your calendar is relatively empty, or if it's really full, but it's all kind of busy work and it's not income producing activities, you might want to take special note to this training because you should be using your calendar, but so many people are using their calendar in ways that they're just kind of checking a box and filling it with stuff. And then they go throughout the rest of the week and they go, I felt busy all week, but I didn't do squat. And so what you do matters tremendously. I was talking to somebody the other day, totally unrelated to real estate, but we were talking about just a schedule in general. And I said, yeah, I do 4 to 5 hours a week of work. And they're like, what do you do? Like, are you a teenager? Like, you don't have a real job yet? And I'm like, no, I do okay, but I only do the work I need to do to accomplish the income producing goals, and everything else is gravy. If I don't want to do it, I don't do it. If I want to go have fun, I have fun. A little bit of focus goes a long way. And they were like, I don't understand how that's possible. I'm like, yeah, you should jump into my next course. But they weren't even real estate agents. They were just talking about calendar management kind of in general. All right. So this is for agents who know that they should be planning their week out, but they're really not sure what they should be putting on the calendar, put into that plan. We're going to dive into that a little bit and kind of lay out some parameters on what that plan should look like. If you feel like you're always busy, but you're not closing deals, your bank account does not reflect a level of work that you would expect out of the exhaustion that you're getting, this is the course for you to kind of fine tune how you should be putting your day together. And then those who treat their business like a hobby, and then they wonder, well, why don't I get paid very well? I say it all the time, just kind of half-heartedly, but it's super true. If you treat your business like a hobby, you'll get paid like it's a hobby. If you treat your business like a business, you'll get paid like you're running a business. And there most definitely is a difference. Okay. So as always, 4 commitments to the call. I see a lot of cameras are still off. Again, Walt Key's rule, if you're not driving naked or driving naked, turn your camera on so we can see your smiling face. If you are doing any one of those 3 things, driving, you're naked, or you're driving naked, by all means, leave your camera off and get off the Zoom call because you're not going to be paying attention if you're driving naked. Okay. Everyone might be paying attention to you, but you're not going to be paying attention to the call. Distractions off. So have your phones on mute, put them face down so you're not seeing, notifications pop up. Give me 30 minutes of your time, and I promise you it'll be time well spent today. Actively participate in the chat. If we ask questions, if we're engaging, it's always a more fun and interactive if people are diving in. If it's super quiet and there's no interaction and I just feel like I'm just kind of droning on, this might sound like a shock, but I don't actually like to just sit around and hear myself talk. So don't make me have to do that. And then lastly, make somebody else's day. Learn from this, but for sure, right? This is super, super valuable to you. But knowledge is not meant to be held on to. It's meant to be passed on to the next person. So learn from it, take what you need from it, apply it in your business and your life, and then go share that with somebody else. Go give somebody else all of the resources to this. You don't have to, well, it's Walt's stuff, so I can't give it away. You have my permission. If you know of an agent that's not doing well or they need this help, give them absolutely everything that you have. Don't be shy about sharing this with other people. All right. We all know things need to change moment. If you are wondering, why am I so busy but not productive? If someone was to ask you, tell me what you do that leads to your closings, and you're like, well, I help clients. Okay, yeah, but what does that look like on a daily basis? I don't really know. Then this is for you for sure, right? We need to know what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, when we're doing it, so that we can go out there and consistently close deals. And it's not just a fluke when someone reaches out to you and says, buy me a house or sell my house. All right, I'm going to skip that for the sake of time. Okay. So a couple quick stats. These are not Walt Key's opinions. These are statistical facts that have aggregated over a period of time. At any given year, 75 to 80% of real estate agents fail within their first year. The first year. There's an 87% long range failure rate in the first 5 years, but 75 to 80% fail in the first year. If you make it past your first license renewal, you are statistically already doing better than the vast majority. Now, some people keep their license regardless of whether they're closing deals or not. You could argue like some people are on a team, so the numbers don't look great, blah, blah, blah. That's all fine and dandy. But the reality is most agents don't have a structure. They don't have a clear plan of how I'm going to go produce income. And that lack of a plan is what ultimately leads most agents to go back into a job. I see it all the time in forums and real estate groups. People are asking this question constantly. They'll say something like, what's a good part-time job while I'm trying to grow my real estate business? What's a good side hustle while I'm trying to grow my real estate business? And I always shrug my head. I'm like, why don't you dedicate that time to focusing on growing your real estate business, right? Don't split your attention. Don't split your focus, right? The side hustle is going to make you a little bit of money short term, but if you dive into real estate full time, you're going to make a heck of a lot more money in that. So that always boggles me, but it's because they don't know how to run the real estate business that they're looking for the side hustle to close that gap on the income, unfortunately. Another stat that's worth noting in this context of planning, professionals who time block their calendar report anywhere from 20 to 40% increase in productivity. There's a whole bunch of statistics around calendar management, time blocking, focus on a particular activity. But the reality is a little bit of upfront work to lay out a clear plan dramatically changes the productivity level of your week. And not just I did a bunch of stuff, but I did the right stuff in the right order so that I could close deals. And then last but not least, the average worker, right, loses over 2 hours a day on distractions and task switching. That's 10 hours a week. So I probably don't work on any given week, or like income producing work more than 20 hours a week on any given week, right? So if I was losing 10 hours a week on task switching, not being structured, not being focused, not, all constantly jumping around, I would literally have to triple my work hours to keep the same level of production. That's just not something I'm wanting to do, right? I enjoy not having to work anytime I get a chance. All right. So punchline here, right? We're not trying to fill every hour. We're trying to fill the right amount of hours based on your income goals with the right amount of activity to align with those goals. So what I mean by that is if you are trying to make X amount of money versus Y amount of money, obviously the amount of work you have to put in to make more money is going to change. But if you're doing the right activity at the right times and they are aligned with your particular financial goals, you don't have to stress over, I feel like I'm doing 80 hours a week, right? Do 15 hours a week as long as you're hitting your goals because it's the right 15 hours a week. So we're going to try to lay that out a little bit as we talk today. All right. Step one, and if you've in the resources that I dropped, you'll notice I put some steps in the resources, right? Download the workbook, watch the pre-recorded coaching call, fill out the workbook, and execute the plan. So step one in that workbook and in the coaching call is something I call casting your strategic vision. And that strategic vision is designed to give you a very, very clear picture of long-term, what is it that I'm really doing here, right? Why am I working in real estate? Why am I putting in the daily grind? Why am I doing these activities anyway? What is this ultimately leading me to? And a lot of times people think goals and they think a 12-month calendar goal. I want you to think about this strategic vision from a longer perspective. And I want you to answer this question that's kind of bolded in white at the end of there. If absolutely everything went your way for 5 years in a row, every deal went the way you wanted to, all of your income goals were met, all of your life goals were met for 5 years straight, everything went your way, what would that actually start to look like? What would your life dynamic change? Would you buy a different house? Would you move to a different state? Would you move to a different country, right? Would you be doing the same types of activity, or would you intentionally put yourself in a financial position that allowed you to do other activities that you prefer, right? So you're going to kind of cast that vision, right? You're going to tell yourself the story of what it looks like when you get there. And from that strategic vision, it now becomes fairly easy to start setting goals that are aggressive enough that they walk you into that vision if you're accomplishing them. So the next step after the strategic vision is put in place is we start prioritizing and planning the business, and we start walking through the numbers, and we set very aggressive goals that move us in the direction of our strategic vision. So for example, if you were to make an annual goal first and you just kind of, I don't know, $60,000 a year sounds great, but your strategic vision is a much more robust, I know what I want my life to look like scenario. And you start to realize I'm going to need to make about $150,000 a year for the next 5 years to really put me in that position, right? Your $60,000 annual goal is not going to get you there. So you're going to have to go back to the drawing board and really lay out an aggressive annual goal that pushes you in the direction that you want to go. And that's important to do. And so when you run that scenario in the workbook, you're going to notice that there's just a few categories of numbers that you need, and they're not super difficult math. There's just a few data points you need. You need to know what is your annual income goal to push you in that direction of the strategic vision. You're going to need to know what's the average sales price in your market so that you can start breaking down how many deals do I got to close to get there, because that'll feed into all of the daily activity. And then you need to know roughly what your average commission is so that you can determine how many deals I close at a particular commission to get where I want to go. Super, super easy numbers. Most of you probably know those already. If not, you can very quickly get an average in your market just from a quick Google search. And what that's going to do for you is it's going to set an annual goal that, again, moves you in the direction of the strategic vision. From there, you'll start breaking down the annual goal into a monthly milestone, something that is tangible, it's trackable, and you can easily say, I'm going to come to this in just a second, this month specifically, did I do enough work to accomplish the milestone I set? Because the monthly milestone, which is based on the daily work I'm doing, either accomplishes the goal and moves me towards accomplishing the annual goal, or it does not. And there's no way to really fudge that. You're either getting where you want to go or you're not. Okay, so the monthly milestone is super important. And all you got to do is take your annual goal divided by 12. Like, don't overthink the monthly milestone, but you need to be looking at your business every month and assessing, is the level of work I'm doing every day producing the results that I know I need every month? And if not, you go back to your calendar management and you say, okay, Over the last month, I've done roughly 4 to 5 hours a day of business building activity. I'm not quite where I want to be. Where do I plug in maybe a sixth hour or a seventh hour of income producing work so that I start accomplishing those monthly milestones? Because again, monthly milestones fold into annual goals, which fold into a longer term strategic vision. And then the other fun part about this is, and this is all built into the workbook that you have, is what I don't want anyone to do is think about your business from the perspective of, well, I saw this other person do it, or this guy said it worked really well, or Walt does it that way. Every single one of your businesses are unique. Every single one of you are a unique human being. And you need to think about your business producing activities from the perspective of your own unique personality type, right? So how do you like to communicate? How do you like to attract people into your sphere, right? What's your vision for your business? What's your communication style? What's your personality type? And what you'll notice when you do I have an assessment and then I break down several different personality type activities. You'll notice that there are lots of ways that you can build your business. They don't all work for you. So for example, Walt Key, I love calling people. I'll call FizzBuzz on Saturday when I'm bored. I'll call agents and list their property see on my social. Like I'll just make conversations happen. Not everybody wants to do that. There was a really interesting study. I think it was based out of Australia, maybe a few years ago, and it was talking about this new generation of younger folks. They actually have a phobia of talking on the phone with a stranger. Like they're in Australia, right? They've got more animals in Australia that can kill you than any other place on the planet. And yet they're one of their biggest fears is being on the phone with a stranger. While what I do works great for me, if I was to try to force somebody to cold call, I hate the words, but right, cold call style prospecting, when they literally had a fear of being on the phone with a stranger, they're not going to do that. And they might put it on their calendar even because Walt Key told them to put it on their calendar, but they're going to fight against themselves every single day because that does not align with who they are, and it's not going to be productive for them. Right. And so when you fill out the personality strengths assessment, it'll talk a little bit about, am I outgoing or am I more reserved? Am I more friendly or am I a more professional mindset? Am I very analytical or am I more spontaneous? Right. And it just gives you a quick snapshot of how you process information, how you communicate with people, who you are at your core. And then you'll look at a series of prospecting strategies that are all proven and they all work. And you go, now that I'm thinking about who I am and how I like to do things, that prospecting strategy makes more sense to me. I'm not going to do these three. I'm going to do that one. I'm not going to do those four. I'm going to do that one. And you pick 2, 3, 4 at most active prospecting strategies that align with your personality type. They make sense for who you are. And you start putting those on your calendar. And then you just say, on this day, at this time, I'm going to dedicate an hour to doing the prospecting strategy that feels right to me. You will do that so much easier. You will have more fun doing it. Your conversations will change because the energy that you're bringing into the conversation with that particular prospect is different because they can just, right? We've all been on the phone with somebody and it was obvious they did not want to be on the phone with us, right? You feel that energy in the conversation. So you will, even doing the same amount of work, you will do more productive work when you align your prospecting with your unique personality type. So that's part of the homework that I am going to give you. Okay. So growth opportunity. This is the homework I was just talking about. Let me drop in. We have had a lot of people jump into the call. So let me drop the resources again real quick. Just want to make sure everybody gets those. A couple points on the resources. I just dropped it back in the chat. Do not try to edit the Word document for the roadmap in the Google Drive. You guys will just step over each other. Just hit the little 3 dots, download that to your own computer so that you can keep your own copy. Start with downloading the workbook, and then watch the pre-recorded coaching call that walks through this in greater detail. Then as you're watching the coaching call, you can be filling out the roadmap. You can pause the call, right? It's a YouTube, I've already recorded it, so you can do it at your own pace and say, okay, let me pause here. Let me go to the workbook. Let me fill out this section. Got it. Let me keep going. Okay, now we're talking about this. Let me pause, fill out the workbook. And what this is going to do for you is it is going to start with the high level strategic vision and walk you all the way down into individual daily calendar management that feeds the entire process for your business. Super, super fun that way. If you do have questions as you're going through the prospecting for a personality type assessment, or you're looking at the strategies and you're trying to figure out which are best for you, by all means, shoot me a note, reach out to me. You guys all know how to get my information. What I would urge you when you fill out your roadmap, do not choose more than 3 or 4 prospecting strategies. You might say, well, there's like 6 or 7 or 8 of these that really, I could really enjoy all of these. What will happen if you try to do more than about 3 or 4? This is just brain science, right? This is statistics and neuroscience. If you're trying to do too many things, you're not actually focusing on anything. You're not doing them consistently enough to produce the results. So while you might feel busy doing things that you enjoy, you're not doing enough of them to produce a result. So I caution you to start with no more than 3 or 4 and build those into your calendar. What day of the week, what hour of the day are you going to do each one? And then if you feel like you have plenty of time left in your week, by all means, slowly start adding in a 5th. That's okay. But don't start with more than 3 or 4. If you've got a super, super busy calendar and you've got life stuff happening, you got kids and dogs and part-time job and all this stuff, you might start with 2 good ones and build that consistency around 2 first, rather than try to do 4 if your time is very limited. That's okay. It's your business to run and it's your calendar to manage. We just need to make sure that we're putting the items on our calendar that match what we're trying to accomplish, and we're holding ourselves to that strategy. And then jump into the group and post what you're doing, right? So if you want to share your income goals as well, I know sometimes that's a little personal, but you're welcome to share your income goals. Hey, I'm looking to make this much money, and these are my monthly milestones, and these are the 3 to 4 activities I'm going to be doing to accomplish those milestones. And I've chosen to do prospecting on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'm going to do my follow-ups on Tuesday and Thursday, right? Give us some share. Right? Share what that looks like, because some people might struggle getting started, and you sharing what you're doing might key something up in their brain. So don't be shy about this. We're all here to win together. So post it in the group when you're done. All right. Last but not least, and then we'll open this up for questions as we dive in. If you haven't already subscribed to the newsletter, that's where the replays go. That's where we'll send out the resources again. We'll send you all of this, everything that you need. So if you're not already subscribed to the newsletter, jump in and subscribe to the newsletter. Link will get dropped in the chat. It's a great way to stay engaged throughout the week. We don't spam you. We don't send you a whole bunch of stuff all throughout the week. Really, it's primarily to make sure you got the resources and the replay to the coaching call in case you miss one. All right. Things need to change. And they are not going to change if you don't do the work. I cannot do the work for you. All right, let me unshare my screen for a minute, and we will look at the chat and make sure I didn't see any big questions bumping around. I know that was super, super short on time, so we'll give you guys some time back today. Let me just double check. Exactly, Michelle. Knowledge is not meant to be held, it's meant to be shared. 40% of my calendar is calling leads. That's good. As long as you know who you're calling, what you're saying to add value to them, that's very, very good. That's a solid amount of time. Obviously, follow up to those calls is another big piece. As you start generating the relationships with the leads, the follow up becomes super important. Yeah, Andrew, I was blown away when I read that study. It was like, gosh, it was like almost 90% of them said we have the study at one point, like alligators were on the list of things they're afraid of. And I'm like, listen, you're in Australia. You got saltwater crocodiles. They will bite your head off. And you're more afraid of being on the phone with somebody? But it's real. Like I'm not trying to make light of their phobia. That is a real fear. And some people would say, well, just step out of your comfort zone and work through the fear. And there's a degree of that, right? It's okay to step out of your comfort zone and try something new. But if you literally have to force yourself every day to do something that is contrary to what you feel is right in your gut, you're not going to sustain success with that. So instead, you should be looking at what else can I do that does feel right to me? It aligns with my mindset, my communication style, my personality type, and let me do the things that come more naturally to me because I don't have to fight myself for that. I don't have to bring that negative energy into the calls or conversations. So much easier to grow a business that way. So it's a real thing, no doubt. My company won't allow downloads from Google Docs outside source, so they protect against can't that configure. Do you want another way to obtain? If you signed up for the newsletter, you'll get that in your newsletter as well. It should come to your personal email so that you can download it when you're not at work. That should work for you. Someone said the link doesn't work for the newsletter. Let me just check that real quick. It works for me.
Well, like some of the past newsletters, like I've been getting them and it says like mega.co or something.
Oh, okay.
It's not working.
Gotcha. Okay. So Miza, let's just go through our newsletter template and make sure that all of the links that are kind of standardized in there, make sure none of them are broken. A company didn't update a link, something like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Got it.
Thanks for that. Really like the distinction of calling leads and scheduling time to follow up. Yeah, it's as you go through the business planning coaching call, you'll see there are basically, in Walt Key's opinion, Rob Bean shares this opinion. Most successful agents generally categorize their business into 4 categories. There's some nuance, but if you think about these 4 things and you make sure that these 4 things are on your calendar, you will be productive, right? Active prospecting. How you do that prospecting, totally up to you. That's why we have the prospecting for your personality type. Some of you are going to cold call FSBOs. Some of you are going to build a YouTube channel. Some of you are going to be very intentional about your social media to drive business. Some of you have lead sources like Epic and all that, and you're going to call the leads that are already provided. There's all those things. How you do your prospecting will vary agent to agent, but actively prospecting is absolutely super, super important to your business. You gotta be doing it. So that's number 1, active prospecting, lead generation, whatever you want to call it. Number 2, and I would say it's equally as important as prospecting, is follow-up. The data points on there don't lie, right? If you look at any sales industry, not just real estate, but sales in general, about 80% of closings don't happen until at least the 5th follow-up attempt. And most agents, 92%, I think is the last statistic I saw, 92% of salespeople only follow up 1 time or never. You can have all the leads in the world, but if you ain't following up with them, you're not closing deals. So active prospecting and following up with those leads that you generate are equally important to your business. Both of those things have to be on your calendar multiple times a week if you want to be successful. Now, the other 2, they kind of stem from those first 2. The other 2 are appointments, right? What time of the day and what days of the week am I going to hold appointments? Am I going to meet with a buyer? Am I going to tour homes? Am I going to do a listing appointment? Am I going to maybe meet with a strategic partner, right? You need to know in advance, when am I going to do those things? Because if they're not on your calendar at all, your calendar will very easily get filled up with a bunch of random crap. And you won't feel like you have time when somebody calls you and says, hey, I'd love to talk about selling my house. When are you available? I don't know. But if you build that out on your calendar in advance, and I'm just using this as a random example, right? Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, and Tuesday evenings are my appointment time. So that gives my client or my future client options. Hey, listen, we can meet Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, Tuesday evening. What's best for you? But I know I've always got time blocked out to go hold those appointments, because if you're prospecting well and you're following up consistently, you will start setting appointments that ultimately lead to closed business. So that's a very important factor of your calendars, the appointment time. And then the third one is we'll call it the immediate client needs or the immediate contract needs. Like I've got deals going now. I got to be at a home inspection. I got to get an appraiser into a house. I got to go coordinate with a lender, whatever it might be. And so as you start closing deals, you need some time on your calendar to do that. Some of those will pop up. They won't necessarily be recurring every day, every week, etc. But if you build out everything else, then you know where you can fit those in as they pop up, right? Because let's say a home inspection. If you go under contract on a Tuesday, you might do that home inspection before you plan next week's calendar on Sunday. You might not. You might still plan it out next week. So there will be some things that pop up that need to fit in there. But generally speaking, if you plan out your prospecting, you plan out your follow-up, and you've booked dedicated time for appointments, you're going to be running a very efficient calendar that focuses on productive time. Hopefully that helps everybody as you build out, and you'll see that in the coaching call. But those 4 things are super. We call those the core 4, right? Those 4 things are super important. All right. Next step is sitting time for activities. So much business coming in at time out. Yeah, and that's a good thing, right? It's not a bad thing to have so much business that you say, do I want to keep working this business? Do I want to refer some of this business out to a local agent in my market? That's fine. I will be the first to tell you that, like, it happened actually just a couple days ago. I had someone call me, said, "Hey, got a client wants to shop in your market. Can you help?" And I said, "No, I don't have the bandwidth right now. Call Alec Meston. Here's his number." I don't need a referral. Like, Alex, an agent in my market. He's on my team. Like, great guy. He'll take care of clients. He can do that. I don't have the bandwidth. I'm in Pennsylvania trying to be at a family wedding. Right. So it's okay to be at a position where you get selective about how much business you do. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's a good spot to be in, actually, when you can say, nope, I don't need that client. I'm busy enough with the level of work that I want to have to produce the income results that I want. I've got other agent partners I can refer that to. I've got other people I can connect you with. That's a good spot to be in. Cindy, the link for the personality test is inside of the Google Drive. There's a Word document titled Business Planning for Real Estate. That workbook is about 6 pages. Inside that 6-page workbook is the prospecting for your personality type assessment and the prospecting for your personality type strategies. It's all one consolidated workbook. So you're going to build out your business plan in there. You're going to set your annual goals in there. You're going to identify your monthly milestones in there. You will determine exactly what your calendar is going to start to look like. And then you'll build out prospecting strategies so that you can fill your calendar with the right prospecting. It's all in there for you. All right, I think that covers everything in the chat. We've got a little bit of extra time here. Questions, comments, thoughts, concern, as I've got you all on the Zoom. Just jump off mute and ask any questions you might have before I let you go.
So I just have a good testimonial about follow-up. So I got a lead and there was an appointment involved. It was a listing appointment. And they, as I was going through, just walking through the contract, which I like to do in the listing appointment, they said, well, you're actually like the 5th realtor that we're talking to. So, okay, great. Finished the appointment. And I made sure when I went home, I emailed them, let them know I enjoyed meeting them. And then I called them a couple days after that. We just signed the listing yesterday. But I had 3 follow-ups in a week just to stay in touch with them because they were making up their mind.
Yes. So it sounds like you did pretty well on the follow-up. A lot of agents wouldn't have followed up at all. So don't beat yourself up too much over that. One of the ways that I like to frame follow-up, and it's not a perfect science because you just never know what a particular client's going to do. But one of the things that works well is, especially with, we'll call it cold leads, right? You get a lead in and you haven't solidified the relationship yet. More follow-up on the front end, more than you can possibly think that you need, right? So we talk about 10 touch points in the first 30 days as a baseline to make sure that we are consistently following up with them. And that averages out to about 3 touch points or a touch point every 3 days. But really what that looks like is that might be a phone call, a text message, an email on day 1, a follow-up phone call, text message, and email on day 2, a follow-up phone call, text message, or email on day 4. And then we'll get half of that follow-up in the first week, and then we'll start to string the follow-up out a little bit slower the backside of that 30 days. But you did pretty well. If you had a conversation with them, you called them in a couple days. The only thing I could say, just as a point of maybe slight tweak, is call them the very next day, right? You text them a couple hours after the listing appointment and tell them how great it was to talk to them. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm super excited to work with you. And then follow up the very next day instead of a couple days later. Because some agent probably followed up the very next day and they're like, I don't remember which one you are, but sure. Yeah. You called me, let's go. And so it might not have even been that they liked one versus the other. It's just whoever followed up the first was like, I don't remember who the five we talked to, but sure, you sound good. Let's go. So at least you followed up, and that's a good thing. You'll do lots of business just following up consistently. Anybody else? Questions, thoughts, comments? I know there's a little bit of homework to this. We didn't dive super deep on this call because it's so unique and individual, right? It wouldn't make sense to walk through the entire plan because every single one of you are going to have different income goals. You've got different market metrics that you need to know. You've got a different life structure. You've got and you'll see what I mean by life structure when you plan out the calendar. We talk about 3 different priorities in the calendar, right? Priority number 1 is life stuff first. And every one of you has a different life dynamic: wife, dog, kids, husband, car, job, whatever you got, right? And so that life stuff, that has to get on the calendar before the business stuff. And there's usually not a ton of it on any given week, but it's very, very important that it's budgeted on your calendar so that your business is not stepping on your personal life and vice versa. That can get very stressful. So life stuff first, then we talk about the business stuff. After the business stuff, we talk about what we call the everything else category. And that's just the fun stuff that you want to do, and you want to make sure nothing steps on that time. And so because of the unique nature of building out your calendar for your individual goals and your individual personality types and your individual market metrics, it wouldn't make sense to try to dive deep on that with each of you. But that's what the resources are for. That pre-recorded coaching call and the individual workball will walk you through it in great detail. And then again, share your results, put it in the group, ask questions in the group if you've got them as you fill it out. It's not, like I said at the beginning of the call, it's not super sexy, right? It ain't nothing flashy and glitzy. But when you are operating your business off of a very clear roadmap, it changes the dynamic of your business. You will be more productive, you will make more money, and you will feel less busy. That's just how a good, properly managed plan works. That's why plans work the way they do. So don't miss that opportunity. Okay. Any other questions, comments, thoughts, concerns? And if not, that's okay. We'll give you guys 20 minutes of your time back, and you can start diving into the homework. But
So I have another thing that we have found that we want to put on our calendar, and that is closing dates. We had a closing on a Friday, and it almost didn't close because it was remote. And so and we had determined this earlier, but now that we're getting enough business and actually having closings, lots of closings, it's like Fridays are not a good day for closings. And so to put that kind of on our calendar of, yes, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe best days for us. And so then when you get the contract to buy and sell, maybe you counter if it's a Friday closing date kind of thing.
Yeah, that is a pearl of wisdom. That is so true. So I tell all of my clients the hundreds of deals I've done, I don't even know the number anymore. I tell every one of my clients, we will set the closing date for a Tuesday or a Thursday that works best for you. They're like, okay. They don't even question that. Like, they're just like, whatever, Tuesday or Thursday, fine. Monday closings, you're scrambling on Friday to make everything happen. And if any one thing gets delayed, Monday is not happening. Friday closings, any one little thing gets in the way, something gets delayed, underwriter misses something, you've wasted the entire weekend now, and they're trying to figure out, where do I live for the weekend? I never want to close on a Monday or Friday. I'm a Tuesday or Thursday is the days that I pick, just based on if they're like, hey, 30-day window. Okay, great. Well, today, 31 days would be Thursday. Thursday it is, right? Because yeah, it can be very problematic trying to coordinate last minute details on a Monday or Friday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are absolutely when you should be trying to plan your closings, for sure. Unless there's just some really, really nuanced thing and the clients are like, we absolutely want to close on a Friday or a Monday, which it almost never happens. Tuesdays or Thursdays are gold. No doubt about it. Anything else? So questions, comments, thoughts? Going once. Going twice.
I have a question, Walt.
Go ahead.
So how often do you do these lead generating items? Do you do them every single day for like 2 hours, or like what does your schedule look like?
So that will depend. Great question. That will depend on your income goals, right? If, for example, if you're trying to make $60,000 a year, you can probably do prospecting every other day for an hour or two. If you're trying to make $250,000 a year, you're probably going to do 2 to 3 hours of prospecting every other day, or you're going to do prospecting every day of the week for an hour or two, right? And so it's almost like when you're brand new, you're fresh out of college, and you're going to make a budget for the first time, and you're like, oh, here's how my numbers will work. I know how I'll spend my income. And then you track your receipts and you go, oh, wow, I did not realize I ate out that much. I got to go back and readjust my budget. Same thing with your annual calendar. You'll start doing daily activity, and then that's what this monthly milestone is for. If you look at your monthly milestone and you're not hitting your milestone, you need to go back to your daily routine and say, where can I build in more business building activity? Do I need to do some more follow-up? And you will have a little bit of fluctuation maybe that first month or two as you really get into your own groove, based on your metrics, right? And so what I mean by that is, let's say you're trying to do $250,000 a year and you're in a market with a $300,000 to $350,000 sales price. That's going to mean that you need to close somewhere in the range of 2 to maybe 3 deals a month. So you're going to need to do more business building activity in order to generate consistent 2 to 3 deals a month. But if you're trying to do $35,000, $45,000, $60,000 a year, you might only need to close 1 deal every 2 months. You can obviously do far less prospecting and close a deal every 2 months. So there's some individual metrics to that as well. As a general rule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, an hour or two a day is a pretty solid baseline to start. And again, just tweak and refine as you feel like. Either I've got more business than I thought. Great. Can I up my income goal, or do I do less business activity? Or I don't have the income that I want. I need to go back to my calendar and find a few hours more each week to do business building activity. You'll fluctuate that a little bit until you get in your groove. That's all. That you'll see that in the coaching call as well, kind of breaking that down a little bit more detail. Good question, though, for sure. Okay. Anything else? Going once. Going twice. All right, go do your homework, build your business plan. I promise you that will be time well spent. You guys have a fantastic rest of your week. I'll talk to you soon.